Hey, it's been a bit since I uploaded a longer length video. Sorry about that. I was busy with university stuff amongst other things. But that's done now. I have time to make videos again. So, let's get started. Into the Pit released over 2 months ago, and with it came a bunch of interesting potential lore implications. I made some shorts on each of these if you wanted to see my thoughts. Now, the canonicity debate will not be addressed here, but I will put my opinion out there. I think this game is canon to the main continuity, and along with it, the story is connected to the Into the Pit story from Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex. So this video and all videos from me will continue to make content with this assumption. If you disagree, that's fine. Just respect others' opinions. What I really wanted to talk about today is the theory that Oswald is in a memory loop throughout the game. So what is loop theory? It means Oswald was either dead throughout the game or was trapped in the ball pit. But what does that mean? How does that work? And could it even be true? That's what we'll be talking about today. So let's dive into the pit and see what secrets might be lurking underneath. What exactly does a memory loop even mean? It essentially relates to a spirit, or I guess one's consciousness, if Oswald isn't dead, trapped in the pit, repeating the same horrible memory over and over again. This is something that occurs within the Fazbear Frights epilogues. Millie, the protagonist of Count the Ways, leaves her home to go for a walk, escaping a Christmas party with her family. She gets cold and doesn't want to return for her coat, so she finds shelter in her grandfather's workshop. When she does, her cousins can be heard playing outside, so she decides to hide from them inside a mechanical bear. This bear is a Funtime Freddy, and when she enters, she becomes trapped inside, forced to choose which way she will die. These include dehydration, starvation, freezing, decapitation, etc. She chooses decapitation, thinking she can dodge the blade to trick Funtime Freddy into believing he killed her. The story ends with her death. Then later in the last epilogue, we meet Millie again, reliving the same memory of her leaving her house and finding her way inside Funtime Freddy as her soul somehow ended up in the ball pit. We can assume it has something to do with Eleanor, as she is the main antagonist of Frights and is connected to the ball pit. Jake, one of the spirits in the Stitch Wraith, enters the pit in the epilogue and turns this memory and other memories in the pit into a happy one, presumably freeing the trapped souls in the pit. The theory suggests that Oswald never left the pit, that he is trapped reliving the same experiences over and over, and that each version of the story is a different iteration of the memory. If this is the case, it can explain some of the weirdness surrounding the game. Into the Pit seemingly takes place in 2020, as the graphic novel includes the remake of the movie Oswald and his father watched in the story, and the source code for the Jeff's Pizza site, which never released, contains the year 2020 as well. This would place the game before FNAF 3, and we can see this in the environments. Artifacts such as the arcade games and BB's drawing are in Jeff's Pizza, with what is presumably the safe room still sealed. However, the Stitch Wraith appears as an Easter egg outside Oswald's window, which would not be possible because they exist after UCM. So, how does that work? Unless the game or this loop takes place during the Stitch Wraith epilogues, particularly the end of them, where he manipulates the memory into a happy one. It's also worth noting that the Stitch Wraith doesn't have their battery pack on them when it's an essential part of the Endo. However, as Andrew inhabited the battery, he would not be here at this point. This may be why it's gone, but that may be reaching. So, what can we use to prove a loop is occurring? During the game, Oswald can leave the building in the memory, which greets us with an ending. However, if we go ahead and attempt to leave again, Oswald makes reference to what's happened previously. Oswald seems to be able to remember something that happened in a previous loop. We can take this idea further. Look at this drawing. Do you notice anything off about it? The yellow rabbit has a red bow tie, when the yellow rabbit in this game has a purple one. The yellow rabbit in of itself being a picture in Oswald's room is weird, but what's even weirder is the fact that the yellow rabbit in the graphic novel also has a red bow tie. Oswald seems to be subconsciously remembering the past iterations of the loop. Another odd detail that can be found at the beginning of the game and in every iteration of the story, Oswald draws the Freddy's characters while never hearing of the name Fazbear. If Oswald is remembering past iterations of the loop, then perhaps he draws them because his memories of the past iterations are bleeding through. However, the reason why he has a connection to Freddy's may be because the house could be the FNAF 4 house, as Oswald's room is full of FNAF 4 references where the crying child would have had nightmares of the Freddy's characters. The fear of them might have been imprinted onto the house, as memories can imprint themselves into the physical world, as emphasized by the silver eyes and, well, into the pit itself. Perhaps his memories are seeping into Oswald's, or the drawings are a combination of both being true. The game being a loop will explain how we can bring items from the past to the present and vice versa, because while the pit is not time travel due to the yellow rabbit being an agony creature as opposed to Afton in the suit, and I don't think there was a second set of kids killed in the exact location and year as the MCI by a fleshy monster, but if the whole game were to be a part of the memory loop, then this mechanic would make sense. In the original story, Oswald did not bring back items from the past. Yes, Fazbear tokens did manifest in his pockets inside the pit, but Oswald never brought them back with him to reality, which is something worth bringing up. However, something that suggests the possibility is the upcoming book, Return to the Pit. As the title suggests, it's a sequel to Into the Pit. However, the description says it's a retelling of the original, so it's not a sequel. Unless, of course, it's a sequel being disguised as a retelling because it's all a loop. The author's description of something that happens at the end of the book is interesting. She says that at the end of the book, something happens that allows the reader to go back to the beginning and reread and go down a different path. This sounds like a loop. However, the other interactive novels have a bonus item that you can find which allows you to go back and get the true ending for them, so we'll have to wait and see. If loop theory is true, it can even explain how Oswald can access the minigame recreations of Fazbear Fright's stories. These include To Be Beautiful, Count the Ways, and Fetch. Under loop theory, the memories of these events leak into each other, explaining how we see these events unfold. If this theory is true, then I think the 3-star ending is the alteration Jake makes to Oswald's memory, his happiest day. However, there are issues with the evidence presented for the theory. A fair amount of this can be written off as decisions made for gameplay reasons, such as a reminder that you got a particular ending in this run so you don't accidentally trigger it again. And the bringing of items to and from the pit could also be done for gameplay purposes, as it would be inconvenient to not be able to access areas in the memory but not in reality. If you need them, you wouldn't have the item for a particular side. The drawings of the Freddy characters could be due to the FNAF 4 objects or his house being the FNAF 4 house. The graphic novel Yellow Rabbit could be a reference to it rather than a hint, and Return to the Pit could just not be an indication of a loop. The actual things that indicate something might not be as it seems are the FNAF 3 relics, graphic novel reference, and the Stitch Wraith Easter egg, which this guy showing up has got to mean something. You have to wait quite some time for him to appear in Oswald's room, despite that being impossible during 2020. However, the Ender itself appearing is an issue in of itself. In Fright's Epilogue 11, Jake appears in his spirit form to Millie, not the Stitch Wraith. So why would he be the Endo in this memory? Well, it could be a hint to what's going on, but there's another theory I would like to discuss that explains the weirdness of the Stitch Wraith. This theory comes from Entom, suggesting that Oswald is gifted with the ability to see visions into the future. I know that sounds insane, but there is a precedence for this in the franchise. In the story What We Found, Hudson's granny is a seer who has the ability to know the future due to her sensitivity to negative energies. These energies could be connected with the paranormal, as negative emotional energies are fundamental to the supernatural of the series. One of her predictions was that Hudson would meet his end at Fazbear Fazbear's Fright if he didn't quit his job. This prediction turned out to be accurate, as Hudson was burnt alive in the oven in Fazbear's Fright. Another example of being in tune with the energies of the world can be found in Fetch. In the story, there's a theory called the 0-point field, which claims that even at absolute zero and in a vacuum, some form of energy is still moving, which is connected to everything. This theory is hypothesized to explain psychic abilities such as our thoughts influencing the world around us. In this same story, Greg talks about an interrogation instructor for the CIA named Cleve Baxter, who taught classes on polygraph machines. Baxter began to use the polygraph machines on plants to see if he could get a reaction from them. He burnt one of them and got a reaction not just from the burnt one, but also a reaction from the nearby plants. He thought about burning the other plants, and as if they were reading his own thoughts, the polygraph recorded a reaction. In Epilogue 3, Dr. Taggart conducts tests on the negatively infused objects, aka objects containing agony, and believes flowers can alter the thoughts and energies of a person, mending ego and turning that into enlightenment. Again, in Fetch, Greg is said to have been drawn to the Freddy's Pizzeria they explore, the location where Fetch is currently possessed by Andrew. When seeing the Stitch Wraith, Oswald could be seen a glimpse into the future. By the time of unlocking the Easter egg, Oswald has already been in the agony-infused ball pit, meaning he could be in tune with it if he has this ability, explaining why he sees the Stitch Wraith, someone who will enter the pit in the future and comes to help the souls trapped in the pit. This Easter egg is also oddly paranormal. He appears, and when you get closer, the light turns off, and when it turns back on, the Stitch Wraith vanishes. The theory also explains why Oswald draws to Freddy's characters, because they are him subconsciously seeing glimpses into his future, especially when the drawing in the opening scene is what looks like the Yellow Rabbit. On top of this, it explains why Oswald can see memories of others trapped in the pit from stories that only happen after FNAF 6 if Into the Pit is in 2020. The final achievement of the game gives more validity to the theory as it's titled Looking into the Future. But what do you guys think? Which theory is the better one? As much as I like the idea of loop theory, I'm less confident in the theory since the game's launch and have started to like the alternative. Be sure to check out that original theory. The link is in the description, but we'll see what happens with the release of Return to the Pit this December. I hope you all enjoyed. The next theory I'll be working on will be placing Elizabeth's death in the timeline, so be sure to like and subscribe for that and all future FNAF theories. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day/evening.